As the climate change debate rises, so does the profile of the California governor, who's turning out to be one of the president's biggest critics. So Melissa and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, no shy guy to the camera, if Donald Trump and Jerry Brown are actually a match made in political heaven.
Quite great casting. If you were trying to put together a reality TV show involving politicians, they would be the two characters you would cast, except it's in real life for the two of them. And believe me, they are perfect. Just perfect.
Well, yeah, it's hard to believe, it's hard to imagine Jerry Brown sort of taking such a big role against, say, a Mitt Romney or a John Kasich type of president,
or
right?
if we flipped it around and it was President Hillary Clinton, he would just basically be the elder statesman out in California.
Well, I'm glad you didn't use the same term you used earlier.
What, old uncle?
Yeah, old Uncle Jerry.
Out there on in the sticks of California. He's front and center now with a worthy foe, and he is milking it for everything he can.
And you cannot imagine at any point Jerry Brown going off to China. But suddenly he's off to China without any pre-announcements, no pre-arrangements, no front person, all because every news organization in the world will follow him on this issue.
Yeah, he's on Politico. I think The Atlantic called him the president of the environment, for example. So a real figure that a lot of people, even in other states, are looking to safeguard those concerns while, President Trump is in the White House.
And since obviously Trump looks around to cast people in the role of doing The Apprentice, just maybe Jerry might become the next Apprentice head.
Well, he said that he won't. He said that he won't run for president for an additional time. But the people are making pretty loud calls.
But how does this speak also to the other leaders of the Democratic Party when he is the one that everyone is paying attention to, or is it the fact that he knows how to grab a headline and run with it, meeting up and doing a quick deal with the governor of Washington and New York, and then off to China?
Keep in mind,
he's got a great eye.
He is the Democrat that has the best credibility, because back in the 70s, when he first ran for governor, in the first series of the governorship, he was called Governor Moonbeam, and it was because he was talking about the things that affect climate control. It wasn't called climate control at that time. We were doing things like, doing something with cars, and etc. Jerry Brown was at the helm of that. He knows all the terminology.
Moonbeam versus Trump, who wins?
Moonbeam versus Trump? At the moment, Trump is the president, but let me assure you, those 100 and some odd nations that are looking for somebody to talk to, Jerry is going to be premier.
We taped that so early in the morning. I went back. I thought again about your question, who wins between Governor Brown and President Trump, and I have to say, us probably.
The media and the audience,
and people at home. You get villains and heroes, and
you get
that's
an
always
active
easy.
discussion about a very big issue.
The backers of a plan for universal health care in California say it could actually save the state billions. Supporters of single-payer health care commissioned an estimate from economists at UMass Amherst. They found a single-payer plan would cost California $331 billion a year, but that's $37 billion less than the current system that leaves millions uninsured. To pay for it, the state still needs to find $106 billion in tax revenue. Researchers say the savings would come from eliminating insurance company overhead and controlling prescription drug costs. Now, the study has been criticized for assuming federal decisions and funding that are uncertain.
It's questions like that that have the legislature going back and forth on this. Melissa and I asked former San Francisco mayor and former state assembly leader Willie Brown. The Bernie-crats, they are behind this. They didn't win the nomination for the president, but they almost took over the Democratic Party here in California. And this week, they pretty much saw him take over the California State Senate by passing single-payer health bill. Nobody thinks it's going to see the light of day as it stands because of the cost. So what's going on here?
That's just part of what the Democratic Party and the base of the Democratic Party is about and always have been about. We've been doing single pay since the 80s. I'm not even sure we understood it at the time that we first did it. I was once the author of that proposed measure, and I certainly didn't fully understand it, not at the numbers that it now has. And so it's not unusual, Phil. There's nothing new about the concept.
What about the concept of the power play?
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, what we're talking about here is a group of sort of Bernie-crats, right, who are exerting their power. They're getting organized. They are getting themselves elected. They are getting themselves enmeshed with the Democratic Party structure so that they can really drive the narrative.
They were
that's what
pretty
they're doing.
open about it. They were saying I've talked to lawmakers up in Sacramento, and they were saying they were getting straight threat. If you don't vote for this single payer, then the California Nurses Association, which is behind it, and these other groups are going to run somebody against you in the primary. As a matter of fact, they were already leafleting some districts saying those who didn't vote for single payer were corporate Democrats.
Well, and I'll tell you, at the convention, at the recent Democratic convention, Roseanne DeMauro, who's in charge of the California Nurses Association, came out and said, Democrats who do not vote for single payer, the blood of the people who are injured and dying in hospital is on your hands. That's how severe and seriously they view this.
But ultimately, it is not going to translate into any increased power among Democrats. We're already two-thirds of both houses. We already have every statewide office, and we've done that without the...
Yes, but every individual Democrat up there wants to stay up there. And
no
they
question
don't want
about
another Democrat coming in from their left side because that
But
is
the
power.
problem is a very simple one. You no longer can worry only about somebody coming from the left. You got to worry about somebody coming from the right, since there is top two rather than party choices. And so when it was party choices, the leverage was there for organizations that advocated single issues. But now politicians have to be concerned because, believe me, some politicians, like Steve Glazer, ends up winning going against that trend.
And Steve Glazer from Orinda, state senator, actually did vote against this. He was the only Democrat, I believe, that voted against, although many abstained.
Yeah, there was a handful that abstained, and so there was a lengthy debate on the floor over this, and you just never seen so many people hold their nose and vote for it. Nearly every Democrat that spoke said, this is half-baked, this isn't ready, we should not be moving this forward, but you know what? The president's going to do something horrible that's going to impact us, so we got to do something. We're just going to send this on to the Assembly.
And also we have these wing of a Democratic Party that's pushing for something very strongly, and it was very activist. They were out there holding town hall meetings, rallying. They were even walking to some senators' districts, like Steve Glazer, saying, if you don't pass this, we'll run somebody possibly against you. So that was a very tough time. And so what they've done is what politicians, all good politicians do, passed it on to somebody else, the state assembly now, and they're not too happy to be receiving it.